Your San Antonio Spurs have won more than 22 wins last season. Does that make it a successful season?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kens 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back, and happy Wednesday, everybody. Man, the season's winding down fast, isn't it? Whew, it's already going to be over. But anyway, again, y'all know where to subscribe. I'm just thinking about the season, how it went by like that. But subscribe at Locked On Spurs YouTube, where else? Kens 5 Plus app, iTunes, Spotify. Just pick a platform where you're there. Locked On Spurs newsletter. It's in the description below. Click that link. Literally says LO Spurs newsletter. You click on that link, takes you there, sign up, or just go to lockedondaily.com and go subscribe. So what are we talking about today? We're going to be talking about the season. They won over 30 games, right? A lot. That's definitely a bump from last season, right? 22 wins, 30 plus already. Does that mean it is a successful season? We're going to be discussing that. And, well, getting to some Spurs fan comments left on the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. You guys are talking a lot. And, yeah, it looks like y'all are just winning for this season to be over with already. I hear you. I feel your pain. Yeah, these losses, they start piling up. And next thing you know, you're already checked out. But, well, just a few more games, Spurs fans. Hang on in there. So, yeah, 22 wins last year, 30 plus right now. So, technically, yeah, that's improvement. Technically, that is more than what they won last season. But was the bar set too low? Should they have been in the play-in contention at minimum? Let's discuss that and more. So, going to bring in our guest. He is Mike Jimenez of the Area 210 podcast. You can find that on YouTube. Rocking his Lucky Spurs t-shirt. Now, this is not a tall tale, right? Explain to us this t-shirt you're wearing right now.
Not a tall tale. So before going to the Rube Hub a couple of years ago, NBA draft lottery, I wanted to wear some Spurs gear. Didn't have any on me. So I went to Academy Sports. They're on 410 on the east side, northeast side. And I picked this shirt. So this was the shirt that I was wearing when the ping pong balls went the Spurs' way and the Spurs got Wemby in the lottery.
Man, I remember that video. Remember that viral video when everybody just went bananas? I just screaming. It's like the Spurs won the championship. Seriously. That's a little right there. Yeah.
There were about 2,000 people there, but about 20,000 swear they were there because it went viral. But no, I was there with reserve seating. I was there with my former sports star peeps.
Yeah, exactly. Well, make sure to follow Jimenez on X at MJ Acquired Taste. And again, he's with Area 210 Podcast. More on that later. Jimenez, Spurs have won 30 more games, right? Yep, 30 plus games.
Yeah.
Last season, 22 wins. Okay, sure. It was a bad season. Led to Wemby. Yay, it's good and all. But nevertheless, Spurs fans were coming into this season expecting play-in door in the play-in at minimal. There was one time they were saying playoffs. I mean, it got to that point. But then things started happening. Pop got the stroke. Spurs like a trade for De'Aaron Fox, but they opted to go in and had surgery on his finger in late in the season. And then, of course, Wemby with the blood clots there. But nevertheless, 30-plus wins. I mean, are we setting the bar low, Jimenez? Is this a successful season? I mean, because it just feels like it's kind of cheating a bit because the bar is set so low.
This is the 6th losing season in a row for Spurs and Spurs fans right now, right? So you look at this and people are quick to call it a disappointment, quick to call it an incomplete or whatever you want to call it for this season. But this is the best Spurs team in 6 years. Of the 6 losing teams, this is the best of the 6, right? So there's reason for optimism when it comes to it all. And typically I'm kind of a pessimistic guy by nature. I kind of just go against the grain half the time. But just giving it an overall look and just reflecting back on the 79 games that have been, I look at it and I think to myself, okay, the Spurs were projected by Vegas to have 35 wins this year. Right. They're going to be a little bit less than that, right? 33, 34 when the season's over. The Spurs only had Wemby for 46 games. Wemby was an all-star for the first time ever, averaged 24 and 11, right? He was having a fantastic season, was in line to be Defensive Player of the Year. But at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is that we only had him for 46 games, which means that we had 36 games without him. So if you had to adjust the odds or the number of wins the Spurs would have They believe that the Spurs were going to get 35 with Wemby. We're going to be at 33, 34 without Wemby half the season. So you look at it that way. You look at the fact that we made a big trade in the middle of the year for De'Aaron Fox, and then De'Aaron Fox goes down with an injury. We knew he was hurt when he came on in. And the fact of the matter is that he was playing with players that he had never even practiced with.
Right.
We have the fact that Pop wasn't there. Pop went down after 5 games. Spurs were down, were what, 2-3 at the time. He has that stroke. Mitch Johnson thrown into the fire. He didn't have the summer with the team. It wasn't his team. It wasn't his staff. It wasn't his plays. It wasn't his roster.
Mm-hmm.
And you're telling me that the Spurs go out and are going to have 32, 33, 34 wins this year? I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Yeah. Does it mean that I'm happy as a fan? I'm not happy as a fan because I want the Spurs at the very least to be in the play-in tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the idea that the Spurs, with all of that, if I had told you before the season started that Wemby was going to miss 36 games, that there'd be a big trade in the middle of the season, and that Pop would be out after 5 games, and the Spurs would get close to 34, 35 wins, you would have taken it. I would have taken it. So I think the anger that we have, the frustration we have, is over the course of the last 6 years.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter was that this is a successful season for the Spurs. It is.
It's a very accumulated effect here we got going on because, as Jimenez pointed out, another losing season. That's 6 in a row right there. So it piles up. And what is the bar set low? I think it is 22 wins. I mean, there's nowhere else to go but up. 35. If they get 35, that's great. Considering everything this team has gone through, I think that's pretty good. Also, not to mention too the constant lineup change up from Castle starting to then getting benched to Fox getting inserted in, then losing him, then Castle, you're back in. Not to mention, losing guys that have been around and knew the system. Say what you will about them on the court, but they still knew the system. Trey Jones, Zach Collins, they got traded. You lose that. The Spurs able to bring in a Bismack Biyombo and still kind of steady the ship. So overall, the Spurs definitely have shown that they're weathering the storm. And you hear it too from the players and Mitch Johnson saying constantly how much this team has gone through this season. It has been a weird season. I think that's how Mitch described it, a very weird season. So, but with that being said, Jimenez, it feels like, even though, yes, on paper it is a successful season, it makes me feel like what could have been.
Right.
If Wemby at minimum stayed until the bitter end, could this team be knocking on the play-in door in it right now? Because let's be frank, sometimes with Wemby, they were still getting beat up and down the court in a few games this season.
They were, but you got to figure he plays those 36 games or plays, say, 25 of those games.
Mm-hmm.
Spurs pick up 3 or 4 wins. Spurs pick up 3 or 4 wins, we're knocking on the door of the play-in tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. I think as Spurs fans, we need to kind of just take this season for what it is. I think the frustration over 6 years in a row, we had gone 20, 25 years of 50-win seasons just back to back to back to back to back. 6 title appearances, 5 championships, 99, 03, 05, 07, and 14. And we look at that and we think that that's the Spurs way.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, Tony, and Manu are gone, right? It's been a while. Kawhi's gone.
Mm-hmm.
LaMarcus is gone.
Yeah,
Our team has had to rebuild from nothing. And I look at this team right now and I think about the positives. Here are the positives. We have Stephon Castle that we picked number 4 overall, who's rookie of the year and is going to be back-to-back rookie of the years for the Spurs. That's a positive. We got De'Aaron Fox for the upcoming year. Again, he played pretty well coming out. Again, he didn't know any of these guys. He's going out there playing with complete strangers. And he's going out there. Now he knows who Chris Paul is, and he had played with Harrison Barnes. I get that. But for all intents and purposes, he had never played with any of these players before other than Barnes. You have the fact that the Spurs have a young head coach who's trying to figure things out and won 30 wins on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give a little bit of credit when it comes to that. They got rid of the Zach Collins contract. They got something out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And they got something out of Trey Jones's contract as well. So you look at it this way, the Spurs possibly getting a second lottery pick this year. Well, it'll come down to the wire when it comes to that Atlanta pick. We're going to be either 15-16 or 11-12 when it comes to that particular pick. All in all, it was not a bad season. It's just pent-up frustration from 6 years of not making the playoffs is what it is. And we're in a stacked West.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But is there optimism moving forward? We'll discuss Saturday. Coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs with Mike Jimenez of Area 210 Podcast. Be sure to follow him on X at MJ Acquire Taste. You want to do that right now. Let him know if you can borrow that lucky shirt he has on. Bring you luck in your life, man. It brought Jimenez luck on draft lottery night, so maybe it'll bring you luck. Yeah, it did. Mike, maybe start charging people to get some of that vibe from it right there. But first, hey, you know what? Let's talk about BetterHelp.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What are some of your relationship green flags? We often hear about the red flags we should avoid, but what if we focus more on identifying the positive signs in our relationships, those green flags? If you're not sure what they look like, therapy can help you identify them, actively practice them, and even embody that green flag energy yourself. Whether you're dating, married, building a friendship, or just working on yourself, therapy can help you form relationships that love you back. Therapy helps you develop healthy boundaries, improve your communication skills, empowers you to set clear expectations, express your needs in relationships. Therapy provides tools for managing conflict in ways that strengthen your connections rather than break them down. BetterHelp does this, and it makes it easy by offering online therapy with over 30,000 licensed therapists to choose from. And if you need to switch therapists, you can do so at no extra cost. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA.
This is Homer Simpson, and you are listening to my favorite Spurs podcast, Locked On Spurs. Donuts.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Mike Jimenez of Area 210 Podcast. Find that on YouTube. He and Joe Garcia put on that show for y'all. It's there Monday through Friday. He'll talk about that in just a few minutes. We're talking about the Spurs this season. Is it a successful season? Let's talk about the future outcome now. If you love charts. That's what you do in life. You're a financial advisor. You study the stock. You look at charts and everything. So it sounds to me like you like where this team is trending. It's trending up. But are we still stuck in a slow upward trend? Or do you think once the season's over and the offseason begins, we're going to see a rapid trend up?
No, I still see a slow trend upward. Okay. I think the Spurs are going to be in the play-in tournament next year. And I think it's going to be a solid play-in, not one of those things where we have to wait till the last 2 or 3 games of the season to figure out if they're going to make it or not. I think the Spurs are trending upward. There are talks out there, rumors out that the Spurs could make a big splash for a Kevin Durant, and whether that has any legs or any rumors to it, any facts to it, we'll find out. But we look at this upcoming season. We have Wemby hopefully going to be healthy and hopefully more rested than before. We're going to have Harrison Barnes back, and the guy, we call him on our podcast, the Toyota Corolla, because he's just Mr. Reliable. Mm-hmm. You have Stephon Castle coming off a Rookie of the Year campaign, who's going to be better next year than he is this year.
Yeah,
he didn't hit a rookie wall.
They're going to give him the keys to the car next season.
Yeah, he didn't hit a rookie wall. There was no wall to be had.
He hit a small one coming out of the All-Star break. Remember that?
Yeah, but I kind of think they were resting him, to be honest with you. Yeah. There's a little bit there. A couple of games there where they benched him.
But it was small. Even if it was, rookie wall thing, it was very short.
Right.
Yeah.
You have De'Aaron Fox coming on in and going to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be running this team, and he's going to get to know these players from the get-go from camp. We're also going to have a pretty decent player coming in the lottery. And be honest with you, I want one of the Duke guys, man. I don't care if it's Cooper Flagg. I mean, I would want it to be Cooper Flagg.
Oh, sure.
But if it's not, if it's Knipple or if it's that center, I want one of the 3 guys, man. I think any of those 3 guys comes in and fits what the Spurs need, because the Spurs need a defensive guy down low. That could be Kaman, their center. Knipple, who does a little bit of everything. I like the Spurs and this particular draft because I look at everybody who's there in the top 10. Spurs more than likely a top 8 or 9 pick. You look at it and you think to yourself, you know what? I can see, just like Stephon Castle, somebody fitting in a role at a very, very, very inexpensive price point, and seeing Stephon Castle go out there and ball out a second year. The guy could potentially be a star in the making.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens with the Spurs when it comes to free agency? What happens at that point? Do the Spurs keep 2 first-rounders this year? We saw that last year when they had number 4 and number 8. Some Spurs fans were excited when Rob Dillingham's name was selected, but then they traded him for a 2031 pick and all that stuff. Maybe the Spurs do that again this year. A lot of different things in it. I'm optimistic. I think the trend line is going upward. If I was to say, Michael, what's the over-under next year for wins with the Spurs? I'm going to put it at 42.
Yeah. No, I think that's a comfortable thing. I'm right there with you. I'm in low 40s as well, 40 to 45 range next season. Again, if everything goes to plan. So that's no surprises that we saw this past season, from the Wemby blood clot to Pop, or having a stroke, whatnot. But I think the biggest factor next season is the coaching spot too. I think that's huge. That could shake things up for better or worse. If it's Mitch, okay, fine. He gets a full offseason, the training camp, preseason, moves forward with what he wants to do, because he's openly admitted that Pop still is in the ear this season. If Pop is back, well, then, it's the same old. But I think the wild card is if they go out of the family and they're bringing somebody new, that brings in their own staff, their own assistant coaches. And I think that's where things could shake out. But, that's for a whole other story as well.
Well,
So-
shouldn't they make up their mind about Pop in the next 2 weeks anyway? Next 5 weeks anyway?
Yeah, they need to. Well, maybe I should say Pop needs to let them know. And I don't know if he already has, but I'm hoping that he's already let them know, like, yeah, I'm coming back. Mitch, hand back the keys to the car. I'm taking the car over again. But they got to know ASAP, because that draft lottery is coming up quick.
Right. And you would want whoever the coach is going to be for the long term to be there saying, I want this guy and this guy, or at least be in the conversation as far as these lottery picks are concerned. On top of that, Taylor Jenkins is the name that became available. And if the Spurs think that, we're just going to play this out till July or August and then see what Pop's going to do, because if Pop doesn't come back, it better be Mitch Johnson's team. Because they're not going to bring somebody else from the outside.
I don't know if
It has to be.
I don't know if
It's
better.
100% has to be. Or Brett
If it's
Brown.
Taylor Jenkins, says he wants it.
If Taylor Jenkins wants it, that's great. But the fact of the matter is that Taylor Jenkins would want to know. He would want to be part of the free agency. He would want to be part of the draft. To go out there and say, we're going to go do the draft, we're going to do free agency, and then, by the way, we're going to bring Taylor Jenkins in, has no sense in reality, because Taylor Jenkins would not want to be in that situation at all.
Yeah.
At this point, if we are in June or July, or you don't know,
I think any head coach would love to be in the Spurs driver's seat right now.
dude, Spurs fans say that all the time, man. That's not the
You
fact.
got Wemby, you got Castle, you got a high draft pick if they keep it. They got De'Aaron Fox. I think he'd be okay in that seat.
There are only 32 spots
30
spots in the NBA, so there will be somebody who wants to have that. But if it's going to be of a high caliber,
What if it's Monty Williams? Would you be down?
Monty Williams is already in San Antonio. I mean, his son plays ball over at TMI. It doesn't make me excited. Monty Williams does not excite me.
Why are you
Monty
so
Williams-
sold on Mitch Johnson?
What's that?
Why are you sold on Mitch Johnson?
We don't know what he's got.
Okay.
He's been on a short leash. He didn't have an off season. He didn't know he was the guy going into it. He didn't know that until after game 5. He jumps into the fire. I'm not saying that he's been perfect. I'm not saying that he's experienced enough. I'm not saying that he's the best coach available. But what I am saying is that, think about it this way. Wemby would have 3 head coaches in 3 seasons. That's a recipe for failure right there. He needs to have some sort of consistency. I mean, look at Baker Mayfield in the NFL, number 1 overall pick, right? They always say, well, he was a flop. You know why he was a flop early on until he went to Tampa Bay? Because he had 7 offensive coordinators in 7 seasons. That's why. You need to have some sort of consistency. There's got to be some sort of rhythm to what's going on. So if they're going to go out there and bring in somebody, they need to bring in somebody for the long term. If that's Taylor Jenkins, that's fine. Monty Williams, I mean, why would I get excited about that?
Well, what if it's Mike Brown? What if it's Brett Brown? Who he says, yeah.
Brett Brown would be the oldest head coach in the NBA if he was brought.
Well, look what team you're talking about right now. You're talking about the Spurs, who are pretty much okay with Popovich still being at the head coach.
Yeah, and where's that got us?
is it.
Where's that got us? He should have retired 10 years ago. You and I both know that. He should have retired 10 years ago. He'd be the GOAT as he did.
Yeah. He couldn't put a Robinson, go out on the top. Just like David did. David went out on top. But circling back to whether this is a successful season or not, and then moving forward, we're both in agreement. We both like the trend. It's going up. We both like the assets that are helping the trend spike instead of decline. Everything from the draft capital, the players on the roster, the financial cap space they have, everything's good to go. The coaching spot is the only thing I could see that could derail things outside of player injury. It would be game one of next season, breaks a bone or something. Okay, well, that's whole different. But outside of that, the only things they could control right now, I think that could derail the trend is if it could go wrong with the coaching spot or just, you foresee this team whiffing in free agency? I think if they whiff in free agency, that could be harmful.
The thing about the free agency is that they really can't offer any deals beyond 2 years. So there might be some free agents who get turned off by that.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because what's up the bend? You've got to do an extension for De'Aaron Fox. That's going to cost money.
Wemby.
You're going to have Wemby's extension. Stephon Castle is going to be extended. And then this upcoming offseason, not this season, but 2026, what are you going to do with Jeremy Sohan, who's a restricted free agent at that point?
Right.
Do you re-sign him for $20 million a year? Or do you just let him walk and hope that a guy that you might get in the draft, like an Asa Newell out of Georgia, or that center out of Duke, would just basically take his role on the team at a lower price point? Do you do that instead? So this whole idea that there's going to be players lining up to play with Wemby, I think it's fiction. I think he's just another player in the NBA who's really, really good. He has shown himself to be an all-star, but he's not a top 10 player in the NBA right now. He's maybe 12, 15, 20, right around there.
Shaquille O'Neal right now.
Well, no. Dude, you posted a video of him with Hakeem Olajuwon. Mm-hmm. And it got me thinking on the podcast. Hakeem Olajuwon had the dream shake. Mm-hmm. Robinson had the 15-foot jumper right off the top, right off the elbow. You had Duncan with his bank shot, and you had Kareem with his hook and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, I would love to see Victor Wembanyama create his signature shot.
Yeah. And
if the guy is just a three-point shooter, a 7'3", 7'4" Kevin Durant, I don't care how good he shoots. It's not winning basketball. It really isn't. He's got to take advantage of his height at some point. And that's not shooting over people. Yeah. That is dominating people down low at some point. And
Shaq, that's exactly what Shaq said.
Well, it's true.
Yeah.
Why be 7'3", 7'4" and not utilize it down low? I don't understand. You're taller than everybody else.
Yeah.
Chuck it up 3-point shot. He shot more 3-point attempts than 2-point attempts this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is bad. And if you want to say that there's bad coaching is allowing him to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to give Mitch Johnson some grief, why was he allowing him to do that?
Yeah.
I'm not saying to turn him into DeMar DeRozan.
Papa's allowing him to do that too. Papa's allowing Wemby to take threes.
It's bad coaching. I never said Pop was a good coach anymore. Pop was a great coach for many, many years, and the GOAT consideration. And Pop is on the Mount Rushmore of coaches. But 76, 77-year-old Pop in January is not a good coach anymore. He's not.
No, you're right. Well, to put a bow on this segment here, I think we agree. Again, we like where this team is going. Is it a successful season? Yes, absolutely. The accolade for individual and the All-Star not some rookie of the year, more than likely, be criminal if he isn't, but he's gonna get it. You saw Steph Castle take steps faster than we thought he could, and then even credit to guys like Keldon Johnson, who looks like he's firmly grasped his role as a sixth man and flourished in it. Jeremy Sohan, I think Mitch Johnson said it best. They stopped trying to fit him in a position, and they just said he's a basketball player. And
right.
I think that helped Sohan feel just fit better in the system. So overall, there was successful individually, team wise, obviously more wins. But again, the future, it sounds based on our discussion here that it's still clouded. It's still cloudy. There's certain things this team needs to do to get better. But we like where this team is going. So is it a successful season? We think so. All right, we're done talking about this. We got to hear from you. What do you think about the Spurs this season. More than 22 wins, right? 30 plus. That's a success, right? Agree or disagree? Let Mike know on X at MJ Acquire Taste. Let me know by going to Locked On Spurs, leaving us, Locked On Spurs YouTube, I should say. Leave a comment there. We'll read it in a future episode. And that future is now, because that's exactly what we're going to do when we get back. We're going to look at some Locked On Spurs fan comments. What are you guys talking over at the YouTube page? That and more with Mike Jimenez of Area 210 Podcast. But first, let's talk about Robinhood.
With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up today at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC.
As the new leader of the Decepticons, I command you to subscribe to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Mike Jimenez of Area 210 Podcast. Follow him on X at MJ Acquired Taste. And during the break, Mike brought this to my attention. Just happened just seconds ago. According to reports, the Denver Nuggets have let go or parted ways with Mike Malone. I didn't believe Jimenez at first. It took me a while for me to register it, but considering what happened with Taylor Jenkins, I said, okay, fine, I can see that happening. We're going to get into the fan comments in a few minutes, and we're likely to expand on this topic in a future episode of Locked On Spurs. Does Mike Malone now enter the shortlist for the Spurs for potential future head coaching spots?
Please. In a heartbeat. Okay,
Over Jenkins.
Taylor Jenkins perked my ears up a little bit, right? Like, okay, that's a good coach. He had some Spurs ties with the Austin Spurs, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Michael Malone, 2023 NBA champion, right? He coached that team. He coached an international superstar, Nikola Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
Denver is not a small market team, but it's not a big market team either. It's kind of mid-tier, in the mid-teens when it comes to Nielsen rating size. So that being said, you look at it, and 5 games to go in the season, they get rid of their head coach right before the playoffs start. That is crazy.
That's wild.
This is wilder than when Budenholzer got let go by the Bucks.
Yeah,
and they had just won the NBA championship. Something's amiss, man, because you see Taylor Jenkins being released, you see Mike Malone being released, all within a couple of weeks from the playoffs. Something's a little bit wild when it comes to all that. But if we could get a Michael Malone out here who has spoke very highly of Gregg Popovich over the years, very highly of Pop, so respectful of the organization, has always had high remarks for the city. Wow, if we're going to go outside, the winningest head coach in Denver Nuggets history, not a bad way of going about doing it. He's still in his early mid-50s.
Yeah, exactly. Still young guy. I agree. I think he vaults into the top tier picks of potential head coaching spots. I put him up there with Jenkins. Yes, Mr. Johnson as well. You know, he deserves his shot too for what he's done. And now Mike Malone. Interesting development. And, you know, just overall, just as an NBA thing right here, man, you got to wonder what happened to Jenkins. You got Morant. Morant hasn't really been the same since that whole gun incident that he was quicker. Then you got Malone going on right now. You start thinking like, well, the power of the player, man. If he was butting heads, he lost the locker room. If Joker is kind of like saying, I don't know anymore. Man, coaches are they don't have any protection, do they?
They don't, man. And this is kind of symptomatic of LeBron James. LeBron James is somebody who, you know, they're de facto GM.
And,
you know, he got rid of Mike Brown back in the day. You know, and you see what happens to coaches. Giannis getting rid of Mike Budenholzer. They say that that's not what they did, but that's exactly what they did. Denver with a 47-32 record.
Yeah, with them third in the West, right?
They are fourth in the West, right behind the LA.
Okay.
So they're also half a game out of dropping into the play-in tournament. So there's something there when it comes to all that. They've lost 4 in a row, 7 the left said.
You don't have Jamal Murray. He's injured again. It's out of his Malone's control.
Right.
Aaron Gordon, same thing. He was in and out to start the season. But, geez, yeah. Goes to show you, everybody, power of the player in today's NBA. All right, so, we'll probably expand on this topic in a future episode of Locked On Spurs, but keep that in mind. Yeah, should the Spurs consider Mike Malone? Now, that's probably coming up soon this week. All right, since we had to talk about that, Mike Malone news, let's go ahead and pick out one comment here. Jimenez, this is from this is from Dats Canny. Thank you, Dats. I think I'm going to say it right. Dats Canny, yep. He says, I think next season's expectations need to be playoffs or bust. I realize Wemby's season got cut short quite a bit, but if he is somehow healthy this whole year, the Spurs, would have easily made the play-in. So what do you think about that, Jimenez? Is playoffs or bust too lofty of a goal for this team?
Well, according to the standings right now, about 48 wins needs to get you there.
Okay.
So you and I said that our over-under adjusted for all things going on, going into the upcoming season is 42. For him to go off and say 48, it's a little bit more ambitious than what we're saying, but it's not off the radar. I mean, it's still within a standard deviation of where they could be.
Yeah.
So I don't mind it. But what I would be fearful of is Spurs fans expecting a 50-win season, expecting a top, a second round victory or whatever the case may be. It's going to be incremental. It's also going to be dependent on who we get in the offseason when it comes to, do we win the lottery? And or if that doesn't happen, do we get anybody of significance in free agency? Talk been saying about like Kevin Durant and what the Spurs would need to do to get a Kevin Durant. They would need to get rid of 2 big contracts, which would be Devin and Keldon, or Devin and maybe Harrison Barnes, right? That's what would be needed to make that happen. And I keep thinking to myself, I asked somebody this question the other day, a starting lineup, because a lot of Spurs fans are like, oh, I don't want Kevin Durant, even if he's a 1 or 2 year rental because he's 37 years old. And I'm like, yeah, he averages 27 points per game, though, man. If Kevin Durant's your third option on the team, why wouldn't you want to have him?
Exactly.
Right? So I asked the question. I said, okay, a team of Wemby, Durant, and let's say that center from Duke down low, or Wemby, Durant, and Harrison Barnes, and then you have Castle and Fox. How many wins does that get you? Because I tell you what, those 5 players right there get you 50.
Oh, yeah.
It gets you 50.
And that pushes you into the high upper end of the play-in. And minimum,
right.
If not the 6
minimum.
seed. Yeah.
Minimum. And I know that's not the Spurs way, because we all decided back in the day that we bought those t-shirts that said built, not bought. Okay?
Yeah,
I don't care if the Spurs buy players, man. I really don't.
Yeah.
I really don't.
I know. Yeah. I mean, they really couldn't buy players during the Duncan era, the Big 3 era, because they were capped out of money and they didn't really need to seek out big names. They already had 3 of them. What's up?
Fox, Castle, Durant, Barnes, Wemby, Mike Malone as head coach.
Sign me up. I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll definitely take that any day. You know what? And I couldn't think of a better note to end this episode of Locked On Spurs and having pie-in-the-sky dreams of that happening. But maybe it's not even pie-in-the-sky dreams. I think you could actually see that happen. I could, if we're starting next season and that's when I hear the starting lineup and then they introduce Coach Malone, I'd be, okay, not too shocked, because that would happen, but man, that would be devastating. That would be devastating for the teams. But okay, see, Jimenez, you got my expectations too high now.
Hey, we got De'Aaron Fox. We got half the battle done. We got Stephon Castle. We got half of what is needed done.
That's right. We just need
and to think Castle's the worst he'll ever be right now.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And then think about it too, the way he ended the season, or is ending the season, I should say, on a strong note. He's going to win the Rookie of the Year. I mean, what other leap can he take? His shot has been better. Not great, but it's been a lot better than many thought it would be heading into the rookie season. See, Jimenez got me all hyped for next season. All right, I gotta bring it down. Gotta calm down. He's Mike Jimenez of Area 210 Podcast. Tell us what's going on with that show.
Yeah, we do the show every Monday through Friday from 10 to 11:30. Local sports talk radio goes dark. So San Antonio Sports Star and Ticket 760, they go to national programming at that time. So local podcasting kind of takes over, whether it be us or In the Building with Rudy J and Mike Taylor. We do a fantastic job of talking sports, pop culture, nostalgia. And it's a fun show. Jeff is oftentimes on it. We have various guests that come on the show to talk about Spurs, the NFL. We've had experts when it comes to pro wrestling, to college football, to Texas Longhorns football, all of that stuff. Spurs draft lottery is in 5 weeks. So it's the beginning of May. So we're excited about that. We're going to be ramping up when it comes to that. Again, just follow us on YouTube. We have more than 2,000 subscribers strong. And it's a fun time, man. Fun time.
Absolutely. Again, follow Jimenez on X at MJ Acquired Taste. There you can see links to the show and all that good stuff. Jimenez, as always, we thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here on Locked On Spurs. Keep that lucky shirt on, man, because if you're coming on this show with that lucky shirt and that got the draft lottery for the Spurs to get number one, so you just threw out that hypothetical Spurs starting unit plus Coach Malone next season.
Oh, I didn't.
Lucky shirt.
Also with Cooper Flag.
Okay, yeah, keep on saying that. If that lucky shirt got you, Wemby, keep on saying that. That'd be awesome. Man, can you imagine Wemby and a flag together? That'd be devastating. All right, see, Jimenez just rouse us up here on Locked On Spurs. But again, follow him on X at MJ Acquired Taste. You want to do that right now. So thank God for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever we get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Canspy Plus app. You guys are the everydayers. You need to keep on coming here every day to Locked On Spurs. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs newsletter if you're watching on YouTube. It's in the description below. It says LO Spurs newsletter, and you click on that link and you get it for free, or go to lockedondaily.com. So for Mike Jimenez, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock in this episode of Locked On Spurs.